is Morgan Martin. Freedom of religion is something that America takes pride in. However, today the current issues have proven that exercising your freedom is harder than it seems. Many companies today are faced with a difficult predicament where they're being discriminated against for their faith that takes place in the workplace, and this ends up being actually violating some constitutional rights. I'm qualified to talk about this today because I've done research on many different companies that are being faced with this religious persecution, and I'm also familiar with a company that takes place at home that is a local company, and I've done research on that as well. I will be explaining the examples of religious persecution and the government and their power, the religious persecution and how it affects large businesses, and along with the proof of examples of employees that are being turned down from jobs due to their religion. My first example is Hobby Lobby, which many of you are probably familiar with, and it is a Christian company that is being faced with, they had to take it to the Supreme Court because they are being forced to pay for contraceptives and the morning after pill, things like that, with the new healthcare law. And this goes entirely against what they believe as a business. They view that some of the ways you can use contraceptives can be used for abortion, which goes against what they believe, which was written in an article by Thomas Reese, who has his PhD in political science. The National Women Law Center says that paying for birth control can actually violate some of your rights as well. This doesn't only take place in large companies, but it also takes place in local companies, and I'm familiar with the one called Conestoga Wood Specialties, which is a construction company, and they are faced with a similar situation where they're asking for an exemption from the Supreme Court to have to pay for contraceptives through their healthcare law, and if they end up losing this to the Supreme Court, they'll have to pay $95,000 daily just for their refusal for standing up for what they believe in. This religious persecution not only affects large companies, but it also affects individuals and employees. According to the U.S. Equal Employment Commission, there was an example of a Muslim girl that worked at Abercrombie & Fitch in the stockroom, and she wore a headscarf as part of her religion while she was working there, and she even chose to wear the colors of Hollister to represent the business. However, eventually the business turned her away for wearing that because it exercised the Muslim religion, and it affected her look, and they have a look policy that you have to look a certain way to work there, and so she ended up being fired for that. There was also an example of a man that worked at Red Robin, and he had tattoos on his body. He was part of the Kemetic Orthodoxy religion, and he was asked to cover up his tattoos if he wanted to work there, and he refused to do so because of his religion, and he ended up getting fired as well. There was also an example of a lady, Kimberly Cloutier, that worked at Costco, and she had piercings on her body, and it was part of her religion from the Church of the Body of Christ Church, and she refused to cover up her piercings because it would violate her membership at the church. In order to avoid religious violations, we need to be informed of our constitutional rights as U.S. citizens and what we have as rights. The Religious Rights Congress said that they shall make no law that is respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, which was found in the primer of the First Amendment of Religious Freedom. The Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 said that it prohibits discrimination based on religion and requires employees to accommodate the sincere religious beliefs or practices of employees unless doing so would impose a hardship on the actual business. It also states that it is unlawful for an employer to discriminate against any individual with respect to their compensation, terms, conditions, or privileges of employment because of their religion, which was found in an article by Andrea Sinclair. And The EEOG of the General Counsel named David Lopez said that no one should have to choose between their faith and their job, and I agree with this because this also goes back to the Conestoga Wood example, where they were at the point where if they lost the court case, they were actually going to quit their business in order to stand up for their religious rights because they were informed of them. And also, Paul Clement is a representative of Hobby Lobby, and he said, for the federal government to force someone to do something contrary to their religious beliefs actually can violate the 1993 Religious Freedom Restoration Act. So what can you do to help fight for our rights of religious freedom? I ask you to refuse to support businesses such as Abercrombie & Fitch, which discriminates against people and their religions, and even if they don't meet the look policy, they are not informed of what we are entitled to as U.S. citizens. And I do encourage you to take action by supporting the businesses such as Hobby Lobby and other examples, and supporting them of what they believe in. And in order to do this, you can go to Hobby Lobby, get some friends together, and just purchase something there, and you will help them stand up for their beliefs.